And I will talk about a new topic that it's hard to follow Larry Link and Chris Shaffrey and then talk about MIS, right? The patients, they like this better, for sure. So why going prone versus lateral? 20 years ago, we developed the lateral procedures, and I thought that this was done. So what's the benefit of lateral surgery is that you avoid muscle damage, you can throw a bigger implant, have a less invasive kind of correction. And at this time, we had to rely on indirect compression. But 4 years ago, we tried to review what we have done before and why only 20% of the spine surgeons adopt lateral, right? What is wrong with that? Maybe because we had more difficult access to the posterior column. We had a very difficult position. Placing the patient correctly in lateral took time. Was a big part of the procedure. And we had to flip the patient several times if we really want to have a more comprehensive procedure. So then we start planning, can we do this in prone, the same thing that we did before? And what is the main difference that we found to position the patient in prone? We had a better idea of what happens to the psoas and the plexus in this position. We have a much better access to L4-5 and 1-2, believe or not. We have, in this position, much better reduction on spondylolisthesis. And at the same time, this is much better spine procedure, surgery. And actually, I think is, instead of being called MIS procedure, should be called the best deformity procedure, because I can do my anterior work better than we just saw from Chris Shaffrey, trying to fit two Chilifs, although he is so skilled, right? But how long it takes and how much blood it takes to do two-level Chilifs and then all the correction all from posterior. What about we mix this with an anterior approach with a better support? So we studied early on what happens to the psoas muscle and the plexus. That is the biggest concern in 4-5. We learned that in the prone position, because we have more lordosis built into the spine, the psoas is retracted. Remember, the psoas is attached to L1, L2, L3, jumps L4 and 5, and then attached to the femoral head. When we extend the legs, we stretch the psoas. The psoas comes more posterior, and with this, the plexus also comes more posterior. There are several studies showing this already, even a study from HSS that is on the right that shows that the plexus is more posterior when we position the patient in prone. And this makes the procedure in L4-5 easier with less neurological potential problems. We increase lordosis in this position. This is not new for all the posterior surgeons. They know this for many, many years. We thought in lateral position we had some lordosis, and was such a mistake. We were able to compare recently the amount of lordosis in lateral segmental lordosis in lateral versus segmental lordosis in prone, and is about 3 times more, 50% more segmental lordosis per level in this position. This is a clinical example here, adjacent level disease after 2-level fusions, and you see that by positioning the patient at the table, at the Jackson table, opens the level L2-3, and then you can implant a lordotic lateral cage and gain in one level 17 degrees. Basically, what Chris Shaffrey was showing with a chi lift per level in 4-5, which is, in my opinion, not enough. Anyway, we also learned that to do prone lateral surgery is not simply position the patient in prone and try to use what you had before, your retractor, and do lateral. This is not good surgery. We learned that we have to fix the patient very strongly in the table and do coronal movement with the pelvis and the thoracic cage, because then we can clear L4-5 and 1-2 and make sure that we reach 4-5 out of the crest. This is another example of a spongy in prone, and you see that by positioning the patient, you see in this image here, this is before starting the procedure, just by the positioning the table, opens up, and you can do your, we did in Brazil 2 cases that we implanted 20-degree cages, and with really 20-degree correction if we take posterior facets and compress from posterior. So I think the need of, PCOs reduce a lot with the tools working better in anterior and posterior at the same time. For instance, a case example here on the right, a grade 2 spondy that before was a contraindication for lateral surgery, especially at the level 4-5. The plexus is right there, very difficult case. You can start from posterior, reduce the slippage, and then place your cage, then come back posterior and compress. So it's better surgery. What are the contraindications for PTP, for posterior transpsoas? 5-1, of course, especially in 4-5, when you have a Mickey Mouse shape of the psoas, the real Mickey Mouse means that is a transitional level, works like a 5-1. It's not the nerve that is in the front only, is the vessels are also, like in 5-1, they are more lateralized and makes the procedure almost impossible between nerve and vessel. What about the complications on PTP? Juan Uribe published years ago the rate of bowel injuries in lateral and found 0.08% in 13,000 cases. We still don't have these numbers in PTP. This is another paper from Cantor showing much higher, I think it's bowel injuries again, right? And another paper showing 0.5. So it's a mix of complications. Recently, we did a survey in 1,700 PTPs. We found 1 bowel injuries, which is very close to the Uribe conclusion. So the conclusion is, you go through the retroperitoneal space, make sure that you understand the anatomy of the retroperitoneal, and avoid everything, not only bowel, but vessels, ureter, etc. So you have to learn anatomy to become a surgeon. That's why we did a study on the retroperitoneal space. And if you look close here, see the crest is here, the ribs are here, and this dot here means the quadratus lumbaris. If you go straight here, there is no bowel, no peritoneum. Is a place that is, the fold of the peritoneum is much more anterior. We also did an open approach to show that close to the quadratus, you see all this yellow tissue here. This is retroperitoneal space, and the bowel is about here. This is the next image here showing that the bowel is far away from the psoas. In between the quadratus and the peritoneum, in lateral, we had about 3 centimeter distance. In prone, we had 3 times more space, meaning that in the prone position, the bowel, all the contents falls to the front, and we have more space, more retroperitoneal space. These needles here is the study that we did trying to see if we would reach close to the quadratus, the bowel, the peritoneum, 0 violations, and in a 50-yard line, it's about 70% of the cases go through the bowel, through the kidney, 100% in L2-3. So it's important to understand the anatomy to make sure that you don't go to problems, right? And find, avoid the complications. The next potential complication, of course, everybody talks about that. We had experience about neurological damage in L4-5 especially, that the plexus is more anterior. What happens then is that in the prone position, as I mentioned, the plexus is more posterior, one thing. We also learned that when the plexus is more anterior, is also higher into the psoas, we can tilt the table and go under the plexus. This is a nice tip for L4-5 that reduce the numbers on EMG when we reach L4-5. So the complication rate in lateral procedures in general, independent on the position, is mixed between publications that shows 14%. Probably what they do, they consider the psoas complications like a neurological complications. It's not. The real complication on neurological femoral nerve complication is under 4 or 5%, which is high. I'm not saying that is low. I think that what we will show in the near future is that in PTP procedure, we have much less neurological complication, not only because the position is better, it's also because we have a nicer way to avoid neurological complication that is adding. Beside EMG, we are adding SSCPs and now MEPs, automated SSCPs and automated MEPs that will protect the health of the femoral nerve when we open the retractor. So this paper from Tomé shows that SSCPs is very sensitive. We learn that we open the retractor and maybe at 5 minutes of the procedure, we see the waves flattening, and then we close the retractor for 4 or 5 minutes. The wave comes back, we reopen the retractor, continue surgery. So it's very, very sensitive to the hands of the surgeon, and this makes the procedure a better procedure. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any question if you find questions to that.
Many questions, but it's a superb lecture and you're a master. Thank you so much, Luis.
Thank you.
So you addressed a lot of the difficult issues head on. The reality is that what I see is a lot of people, and that would not exclude me necessarily, will make compromises. Let's see, we see a concerning MRI scan. We have the Mickey Mouse psoas profile. And a surgeon who does a lot of PLIFs will then go like, okay, I recognize it, but I just want to do this PLIF here. We're going to try to get by with it. So when you are in doubt, where does the threshold lie to basically say, this is not going to work, I'm not going to do this?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's also very interesting that some Mickey Mouse type of psoas muscle that before we would exclude, now in the prone position with extending legs, as you can imagine, because the psoas migrates posterior, these Mickey Mouse also reduce and become a possible approach for 4-5. I think that just saying, oh, I'm afraid of having neurological problems, then I do CHLIFs. If you do a CHLIF, and then you compromise lordosis, does make sense to me that you have to avoid potential neurological problems to do a less good work to spine corrections. We keep saying how important lordosis is, and in general, beside pre-Shaffrey, I don't know how many surgeons can do a 20-degree MIS CHLIF procedure.
Great. Rod, any questions?
No, I mean, I think this is great, Dr. Pimenta. You know, I think I'm so excited about spine surgery in the next 10 years. I mean, there's so many cool things happening all at once, you know, with technology, different approaches, you know, different innovative, you know, solutions to problems we've had for a long time. So great talk. Really awesome having you here.
Thank you. And Rod, I think we have a change in plan. Dr. Wong can't lecture right now. He has a family obligation that came